Roundtable, we are known for being completely on top of all of the episodes of television and all of the books and all of the video games out there. We are, of course, the fastest YouTube/podcast series out there. And so I welcome you to this episode of the Roundtable, which is about a week and a half after the episodes we're going to be talking about. Actually, it's not that. It's about a week after the episodes we're going to be talking about here. I have, of course, referring to the hit Star Wars television show on Disney Plus and whatever it is up in Canada where Templar 10 resides, Andor, specifically Season 2. And we're going to break down episodes 2 and 3 today. Partially that's because I just spit on my my little computer. That's kind of gross. Partially that's because I didn't realize that Andor was going to be releasing in sets of 3. Did you know that before going into it?
No, I hadn't really kept up on it. I mean, I knew we would be watching it, but I didn't know. It makes sense. Doing one episode a week for like 3 months or whatever wasn't going to work, or however many episodes there are.
Yeah.
There's 12, I think, right? So.
There is 12, but what's interesting is my son and I last Tuesday went to watch episode 4, and episode 4 was the only one that there was. So it went 1, 2, 3 dropped at the same time, and then 4 dropped, and then 5 and 6 dropped at like some other time. I don't know, but he came home from school and he's like, "Hey, did you know that episodes 5 and 6 are out?" And I went, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, somebody at school told me all there's 6 out right now." And I went, Maybe I'm dumb. That's probably it. I'm probably dumb. But I have watched these. Templar is now caught up, and we're going to get Templar's unfiltered, kind of raw and honest. We have not talked about this at all between the two of us, so you're just going to hear a conversation between the two of us on Andor seasons. Really, we can just go with like all of them if you want to talk about all of them as well. I particularly love the fact that this couplet or this triplet of episodes had kind of an interesting tone to it, particularly at the end of episode 3. And so this is going to be, we're going to be spoiling all of this. Obviously, even the YouTube video that I'm playing as background here is going to be spoiling a lot of stuff that happens. So if you have not watched these, we will not be offended if you leave. Templar, let's start with kind of episode 2 and work our way forward. Big things happening in the Star Wars universe, but I personally felt like episode 2 didn't bring a whole lot to the table. Do you concur with that? Do you like what were some of the highs and some of the lows of episode 2 for you in particular?
Yeah, episode 2 I wasn't that into. It was fine. It was just kind of more set up. Also, honestly, the first half of episode 3 I also kind of felt like that about.
Yep.
It ended pretty strong, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, episode 2, to be honest, I barely remember what was going on there. We get the division because there's 4 running plot lines. So we get the division between the battalion members or whatever, so they are kind of cordoned off in their own ships shooting at each other. So we get them. We have the Imperials showing up to do an inspection on the farm planet with a couple people there.
Yep.
We get the continuation of the really riveting wedding sequence and everything going on there. And then we get a little bit, I guess, with Dedra and what's his Riz something. I don't know.
You nailed it.
Riz. Yeah. Riz, whatever his name is.
Cyril.
Cyril. I wasn't even close.
No.
I had forgotten that they got together. Like, I didn't remember that from season 1. Or did that not happen in season 1?
It didn't happen in season 1, and so the meme going around was that there was like a look that happened in like the very during the attack when Dedra and Cyril were down. There, in kind of the uprising on whatever planet that was, Yellin or Yavix or whatever the heck it was called. They shared a look, and the meme was going around like, wouldn't that be funny if they got together? And then all of a sudden they're together and they're having lunch with Cyril's overly bearing Jewish mother, overbearingly Jewish mother, excuse me. And
jumping ahead, I was gonna save this, but because I was gonna ask you, like, what was your favorite sequence of the first 3 episodes, and up until even maybe with how episode 3 ended, it might be the lunch with like shutting down the mother. Like that still might be my favorite scene of the 3 episodes, just because it was like so much fun. It was great.
And she was just overly passive aggressive. Like, and again, this is not racist. Please don't hear me, but this is the portrayal of overbearing Jewish mothers. This is how they are.
It's a stereotypical Jewish mother kind of character. It's like it's like a less loud version of Howard's mother from like The Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
Like it's just that, right?
Yep, 100%. And so there's that. She's like, all 3 of those actors, by the way, just so good. Like Cyril goes from being this like in episode 2, you know, he's the manager and he's like getting in some dude's face. Like he's like even like rolls his eyes when the guy gives a wrong answer. And then in episode 3, he's playing kissy face with his girlfriend, although that's kind of weird. And then
it's a weird dynamic.
It is a very weird dynamic. And you're going to see why in episodes 4, 5, and 6. You're going to see like there's an unfolding of all of that. But the fact that he just like walks in and just like jelly collapses on his bed like he's a 14-year-old who's just been embarrassed, and Dedra steps up and just smacks the mom down, like that was a brilliant piece of writing. Again,
it was great. Well done.
Andor can shift back and forth. All right, back to episode 2. You're right. I had to go back through kind of a recap before we did this to actually remember what happened, because they like outside of the stuff happening like on the farm planet. I don't know, man. Like it was very sort of like wishy-washy, you know?
It's just all slow build. Like there's not a lot going on. Like the wedding, I made a joke and that's fine, but like the wedding stuff especially, it sort of pays off a little bit in episode 3, but it's just more build up. You know, this guy is coming to Mon. I don't even remember his name.
Tay.
And is talking about how
Tay Kolma.
tough things are, and like how he's kind of struggling and the rebellion and this and that. And I was wondering if I was missing something, that there was like a lot of more subtext there than was kind of being directly said, because there was a lot there with her and Luthen. Then Luthen was very concerned about it, but it's all slow build, and then there's a bit of a weird interaction between Mon and her daughter. Where she tries to kind of give her some advice or tell her she doesn't have to go through with it, and then she kind of tells her, well, I wish you were drunk, or it would be better if you were drunk.
Yep.
She said Mon says her mother was drunk at her wedding.
Yep.
So it's just building up, but there's not a lot really to grab you. Episode 1 and 2, for the most part, were okay. Like the production value is good. The performances are good. Like these are all good actors. I see, at least in some of these plot lines, that seem to be building to something, but it's just not there yet. So, and that's kind of what season 1 of Andor was like. There would be stretches where there wasn't certainly not a lot of action happening. I mean, when I say there's nothing happening, there are things going on, but it's pretty subtle conversations, like, again, political kind of maneuvering, stuff like that. Or these guys bickering back and forth on this jungle planet for no reason that I can ascertain. So it didn't seem like a lot of consequence. It just seemed like it was building towards it, and we just didn't get there yet.
Yeah.
So episode 2, to me, there's not a whole lot to talk about. I don't know. There's that much that stood out to me.
No, there's not, outside of rock, paper, scissors to the death. I thought that was pretty good. And moving that whole story into episode 3, I say we just skip episode 2 from here, because like you're right. One of the things before we get there, though, I had a better appreciation for the wedding scenes at the end of episode 3. Not when Mon Mothma is drunk and dancing like she's in a club, which we'll get to in a second. But the way Tay Kolma obviously he's in season 1, and he's the one who finances Mon's run in the Senate, essentially. Like he finances her getting out of trouble. And I think the subtext in all that we're reading in the wedding stuff is that he is now calling back that loan and saying like, hey, if you don't pay me back, I'm going to turn you in. And he, we've fallen on hard times, yada, yada, yada. I legitimately don't think he wanted to turn the empire, or the rebellion into the empire. But at the same time, he's going, hey, you owe me this money. And so we move into episode 3, and again, then the first half of that episode, it's a lot of setup. There's sort of moving the pieces around the chessboard, so to speak, for the inevitable bang that happens halfway through when the blaster bolts really start flying. And legitimately, like the stormtrooper, like Bix she's going to get raped by that guy, and like that was horrifying. And that scene was played very well. Not that rape, please don't hear that. Rape scenes are never played well, but the acting in it was good. And
it was an effective scene. It was effective for what they were trying to do.
And honestly, it was like, I don't remember Star Wars doing that type of feeling.
No,
like that.
No, definitely not.
And so I think that's why it made that last half of episode 3 so effective. Because even now, like we're watching on the screen, where Vel's kind of girlfriend, the one who's driving this car with Tay Kolma in it, the implication is that Mon didn't, Mon says like Luthen says to her something to the effect of like, hey, you don't understand the choice that's going to be made, and she said, no, I don't understand, and he said, well, that essentially like, good for you, good that you don't have to understand. And he essentially,
that was a good scene. That back and forth was very well done.
Yeah, and
Stellan Skarsgård,
he's great.
Stellan, right?
Yeah,
great. Like absolutely nails that moment.
Yes.
Yeah, his delivery of that was awesome, and it really stood out to me. Him suggesting what's going to happen. She's like, I don't know what that is, and it's like, yeah, I forget the exact wording, but him basically saying, well, that's good for you, or that's nice for you.
That's nice for you. Yes.
Yeah, that's nice for you that you don't know what I mean, that you don't understand that, like, we're going to have to kill this guy, essentially. And so the implication at the end of the episode is that, he's not going to make it to wherever he is supposed to be going.
Right.
I think.
Yes. I mean, yes, that is. And so the thought then in the wedding, going back to the wedding, and then we'll get back to the actual episode, but going back to the wedding, it's interspersed with guy dying on farm planet. Andor kind of doing his thing on Yavin, which we're assuming it's Yavin 4 that they've crash landed on just because of all of the everything that's been there. Him crash landing on Yavin and being with the Minorau crowd. And then Mon getting hammered because she knew that she essentially had one of her associates killed, her former lover killed, even though she didn't want to. Like these people were trying. This is bad, and so she's just sitting there dancing, and like the whole time I was like, man, this is very well done. Like that last 20 minutes was very well done. Okay, so back up. I probably stole all of your thunder. What'd you think about episode 3? Anything else that stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the end landed in a way that was very engaging. We had kind of talked, not in specifics earlier, but we were hanging out in co-working, which is over on our Discord, discord.gg/LuxDigitalChurch.
Good plug.
Many days during the week, many weekdays we're hanging out. People are hanging out, co-working, talking, just working on stuff, whatever. And I was about halfway through episode 3. And at that point I had said to you, I don't really have much to say about episode 3. And then it ended in a way that like gave me much more to say. Like we talked about, that scene, the wedding was kind of nothing for me. I'm like, okay, like I get that there's sort of political maneuvering here, but I'm like, is this all they're going to do with this? Like, this has been a lot of time if this is all they're going to do. And then they do more, because I think they bring home the weight of the rebellion and what it really is going to mean to Mon. Because, I mean, she's been involved in this. She got him, whether he financed her run, but he also set up this like foundation or whatever to help fund the rebellion, right? And so the consequences of her decisions are kind of coming, things are coming home to roost now. And Luthen being the one who has to make the hard decision there that she seemingly wasn't prepared to make. And that's what he said, because she kept saying, I'll get the number, saying, I'll figure out how much money he wants or whatever, and we'll work it out. And he said, like, it'll never be over. Like, it'll never be enough.
Yep.
Ultimately, he'll just want more, and then they'll end up turning us in. And, like, they have you in a terrible position because he could just report you at any point, basically. So that one. The other plot lines, the scene with the mother, the lunch, is incredible. Just like so well done. Could have been so silly. Didn't feel that way at all. But absolutely, just the cutaway to him just like flopped on the bed, just like, and when it backs up and he gets up, you see that it's like the whole apartment is like 4 rooms. Yeah. So it's not like there's no door in between. Like if they just got up and looked, they'd see him like lying on the bed, like just on the other side of the wall. Yeah. So it's really good. But her just laying down the law with the mother and using the fact that she does want to see him, but basically that she is so passive aggressive and kind of manipulative and like always poking at him. So she kind of stands up for him. And now, as you say, I haven't got to the other later episodes yet. So what her goals are there or where that goes between the two of them, fine. Cause she's also domineering just like the mother is, but just in a different way. Right. Yep. So it's not, they might use different tactics, but they're both in control in that relationship with him. So that scene was great. The plot line up until the end of episode 3, the plot line with the Imperials was maybe the one I was most interested in, whatever's going to happen on like Ghorman and that, like, at least just in terms of where I think that's going to lead. Cause I kind of see like, oh, okay, they're going to set up this resistance. Where is that going to lead? We talked about it last time. There's going to be complications there. The farm planet, things come to a head, as you say, the scene with the lieutenant and, what's her name? I forget everyone's name. Bix was very effective, like disturbing as it was supposed to be. You felt the weight of it. It didn't feel cheap. It felt very serious. And as you say, that's not something that would exist in any other Star Wars show. Very well done scene. That whole conflict was set up quite well. We get Cassian traveling back and getting some contact with Luthen's like assistant, basically, who has traveled back on because they've been out of communication. Then the battle, such as it is, it wasn't like much of a battle, but him coming in with the TIE fighter, the TIE interceptor,
wiping them out,
just lighting up all of these guys on the ground. Very satisfying. Looked really good. I liked how it was executed. Kind of showed the power and the sort of devastation there. Very effective. And you get some death. You get the one guy, the bigger guy, who got ratted out by the guy they thought was protecting them on the farm planet. He gets ratted out, and he ends up dying in the crossfire. So, again, you get the kind of weight. It really seemed to be driving home the weight of the rebellion and what the cost would be.
Yes.
To Mon, obviously, the end of her just kind of dancing with like wild abandon, where she hadn't had a single drink, I think, the entire 3 episodes leading up to that point, and then she just starts down in shots and just going crazy. Like, so effective. And again, could it come across very silly, but absolutely didn't come across silly.
Yeah. Really
effective. You felt it on the farm planet. The cost there, also very effective. The Imperials, we don't get much after the lunch. That's kind of it. So I'm interested to see where that goes. And then, is there a 4th subplot? Is there a 4th location that I'm forgetting?
No, not really. You're the Andor kind of the rebels without a cause on Yavin.
Cassian, yeah, sure. I will still not be that thrilled about all the stuff with them unless they come up again in some way, which maybe they will. I haven't got there yet, but if they don't come up again, then I don't know what any of that was for.
I think they're going to have to come up because they are on Yavin 4, and Yavin 4, as we know, is ultimately where the Rebel Alliance is headquartered in A New Hope. So I think they're setting that to be, because even Cassian says, like we're all on the same team here. So I would assume he's going to land back there. They're going to meet. That there's going to be some sort of like fake hold up until they realize who he is, or I don't know, something like that's going to happen.
But yeah, so I think episode 3 ended really strong. The wedding scene, which I'd really not been into, I think ended very strong. The stuff with the farm planet Cassian ended strong. And then the Imperial stuff is kind of interesting. I mean, we'll see where it goes. So yeah, overall, I was pretty impressed. For the most part, up until that, I'd just been watching and appreciating the production value and the acting, like I said. But now, like, I'm more interested to see what's actually going on. Like, I'm more interested in the actual plot. Has grabbed me more than it had before.
So you will get paid off with the Ghorman storyline, and this is no spoiler. You can see this from any trailers, but the Ghorman storyline is now what takes essentially, full view, and it takes over. It's the A plot in at least episodes 4, 5, and 6, as it has to be, as they were setting it up to be.
Sure.
I'm sure that some other things are going to come off of that. Again, no spoilers here, but it's an interesting plot, and there's like 3 or 4 things that feed into it from different sides, and I have yet to figure out how all of them are going to work. I can try to picture what the showrunners and the writers are thinking. Ultimately, like I have put my trust in this show, and most of the time I'm pleasantly paid off. It's not one of those like The Last of Us right now, which is again another contrast to again, maybe this is just me being a Star Wars fan and not being the hugest Last of Us fan, but I feel like I tried to put my faith in that show, especially in the first 3 episodes of Last of Us, and it just wasn't paid off. Like it's like this, what are we doing here? But I put my faith in this show, at least in these arcs, and at the end of it, I'm going, okay, like I'm hook, line, and sinker. You have me. Like all the subterfuge, the love stories, like the love story between Cassian and Bix that is ongoing, the love story between Cyril and Dedra, like that, even that type of stuff, like I'm interested in. And what I thought was very cool is how this show, unlike pretty much every other Star Wars show, which is just pretty much one note, good versus evil, you're right in saying that it is talking about counting the cost, and even more so, not just on the Rebels side, but you start to count the cost on the Imperial side as well. And I think the way that this show is, like the tone shifts that happen, even within an episode, like very well done. Not many shows can do that without making it feel like whiplash. And there are a couple points where it does feel a little bit like, whoa, wait, what are we doing here? But then you catch up and you go, oh, I see why. Like, for example, the farm planet. Like, I thought that mostly was a whiplash until you see Biro laying down, face down on the farm or in the dirt, and you go, oh, that's what they were doing. That is brilliant on how they did that. They made you almost like just want to skip over this thing until, oh, by the way, somebody's going to die, and it's not the person you think is going to die. And it was like, oh, because I in my head, I thought they were setting up for Bix to be taken captive. And here's Biro just laying down, or Miro laying down, face down in the dirt. And it was like, oh, that guy, the New Zealand guy, oh, crap, I liked him. So, and if you remember back even to season 1, he's the one that recruited, and he was Cassian's boss, and he had kind of recruited Andor into this whole like circle of thievery and subterfuge and all that. So I don't know. The big question for me to you is this making you more, let me back this up. You have made mention a couple of times of how you're not really into like the subterfuge and the spycraft and all that. And to be fair, there's not a whole lot of spycrafting happening in these episodes. It's more just straight on political drama and blasters. Is it making you more interested in that, or are you just kind of interested in the whole story overall and not really worried about the political machinations that are happening underneath?
Yeah, the second one for the most part.
Yeah.
I think, I'm interested in the overall story. I'm interested in to see where these arcs go. The Imperial arc, I think, is interesting, and what the overall resistance is going to look like, and what the rebellion is going to look like. What is Cassian going to do? You know, how is Mon going to react to this? That's all like of some interest to me. The sort of political scheming and maneuvering and all that stuff. I'm not. It's just not. It doesn't really grab me. Like, I can appreciate it when it's well done, but it's just not of the most interest to me.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. Awesome. I don't have anything else. Anything else you want to talk about before we kind of wrap this episode up here?
No, I think we got it. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised, and I mean, I enjoyed the first season, so I was hoping it would be good. And the first 2 episodes are good as well, but it's just mostly setup. And I think episode 3 really did pay off this kind of mini arc well, and did enough to get me interested in where it's going to go. So, mission accomplished, I would say, in terms of what I think they're going for there. So, yeah,
Andor.
Very happy with how this is going.
Andor. It's good TV. You should go watch it if you haven't watched it yet. You should probably, if you have a choice between that and The Last of Us, you should probably watch Andor. And maybe just
episode coming.
Yeah, just don't watch The Last of Us. Maybe just don't do that.
We'll talk about it. I didn't mind episode 3.
Episode 3 was fine. It was fine. I haven't
watched episode 4 yet, but we'll talk about it.
I haven't either. Well, hey, stay tuned for those episodes. If you can always hit the subscribe button down below us in the doodly doos. You can hit the thumbs up. You know all the YouTube stuff. You know how to do this thing. You've been on this platform for 38 years with the rest of us, so you can do all the things. But until then, we're going to be recording some episodes. Our next episode is actually going to be all about football. So
Lions, baby.
Let's go Lions, in particular the NFL draft. So if that's something that interests you, great. If not, just watch it anyway. Put it on mute and put it in the background so we get the view count up, because we're trying to game the system. All right, for Templar 10, I'm Chino Mage. We love you. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.